The 2015 NHL draft has proved to be one of the deepest drafts in recent memory. Obviously, Connor McDavid going first overall, followed by Jack Eichel at 2, and the fact that there is 8 NHL All-Stars just in the first round, adding Sebastian Aho in the second round. It's absolutely incredible what the 2015 draft has turned into for stars in the league, but before we had the 2015 draft, everyone, I think it was undisputed that the 2003 NHL draft was the greatest draft class of all time. So we're going to be going over the 2003 draft class, we're going to be looking at what some of the guys have done in their careers, and we're going to try and figure out, is the 2003 draft class the greatest of all time? So let's take a look at some of the most notable players. Obviously, we had Marc-Andre Fleury, a goaltender, going first overall in this draft, and I think he definitely deserved it. He would be a big piece in Pittsburgh's dynasty for years to come. They wouldn't get Malkin for another year and Crosby for another 2, so Fleury was the big key piece to land in Pittsburgh, and obviously he helped them to many Stanley Cups. Definitely deserving of the first overall pick. We had Eric Stahl going second, a captain in Carolina. He definitely led his team, helped them win their cup. And Eric Stahl, definitely a great player. Still to this day, putting up points with Minnesota. A great player, definitely deserving of that second overall pick. Nathan Horton went third, and his career was kind of cut short by injuries, unfortunately, but he was a great player in his time. Thomas Vanek went fifth overall. He's always been a kind of up and down goal scorer. He can't really play in his own end. He's only really good on offense, but he does have a shot, and he's definitely a dominant offensive player in his prime. Ryan Suter went 7th to the Predators. Obviously, we all know Ryan Suter as a very physical, big defenseman, plays a huge role for the Wild after he left Nashville and signed that huge big boy deal with another player that we will be talking about later in this video. Dion Phaneuf, Dion the Goof, now a free agent, was drafted by Calgary 9th overall in 2003. Obviously, we all make fun of Dion, but there's no denying he was a great player in his prime, and I think he'll find a home this summer. Jeff Carter went number 11 to Philadelphia, and we all know Jeff Carter. He's a big goal-scoring centerman, and he does it all. Plays well wherever he is, whether it's Philly or Columbus or LA. Dustin Brown captained LA to their 2 Stanley Cups. A very good grinder, but can still put up the points as well. And Brent Seabrook went 14th to Chicago. We all know Brent Seabrook. It feels like him and Duncan Keith have been manning Chicago's blue line forever now. Great defensive defenseman. Not really astounding in the points department, but he plays his game very well. Zach Parise, who I mentioned earlier, Ryan Suter, Zach Parise, they both signed those big boy contracts with Minnesota. Kind of really messed up Minnesota's salary cap situation with those huge deals, but Zach Parise, obviously a very great player in his prime. He can still do it now. He's had a lot of injury problems, I think, that are slowing him down, but Zach Parise, no denying how good he was of a player. At number 19, Anaheim drafted the first of 2 future superstar franchise players for their team, both in the first round of this draft. Ryan Getzlaf drafted 19th overall. Ryan Getzlaf, obviously the captain, one of the great power forwards in this league, puts up assists like it's no one's business. Brent Burns went 20th to Minnesota. This is a crazy one because obviously we all know Brent Burns as the offensive defenseman for the Sharks he is now. One of the better beards in the league as well. Definitely a great player, Brent Burns, number 20 to Minnesota. We had Ryan Kessler going 23rd to Vancouver. We all know Ryan Kessler is a pest. He's one of those players you hate to play against but love to have on your team. Unfortunate situation with him and all his injuries. I believe he isn't playing at all next year, so hopefully he can get better and get back at it for the Ducks. Mike Richards to Philadelphia went 24th overall. The captain there in Philly for a little bit. Led them to the Stanley Cup Finals against Chicago when Patty Kane scored that insane goal to win at no T that no one thought was in. No one really except for him, to be honest. But Mike Richards kind of had a falling out of the league, but a great player in his prime. Brian Boyle went 26 to LA. We all know Brian Boyle. A heartwarming story for him when he scored on the Hockey Fights Cancer night after being diagnosed. What a great hockey player and a great human being. Corey Perry, there is the second of the 2 Anaheim Ducks players that went in the first round that would become their franchise players for years to come. Corey Perry, we know the rumors that he's most likely to get bought out this summer, so that is unfortunate for him. You know, he's had some problems with injuries, but Corey Perry, great goal scorer in his prime, won a couple trophies for it, and definitely a future Hall of Famer in my opinion. And at 29, we had Patrick Eaves, who is another player on this list. Oh my goodness, I just realized how many players are actually on Anaheim now in this list. Patrick Eaves went 29th to Ottawa, and a great player, you know. Not the biggest point producer, but he can lay the body, and he can put up some numbers, and that's why he got his big contract with the Ducks, because he had a good year in his free agency year, and he got rewarded for it. Obviously, he had his injury that kind of kept him out for, I think, most of last year and the year before, I believe. So get well, Patrick Eaves. What a good player he has been over the course of his career. So now we're going to be talking about some players that went past the first round into the deeper rounds. We had Louis Eriksson going 33rd. We had Kevin Klein going 37th. With the absolute legend himself, Patrice Bergeron, going 45th overall. The franchise guy in Boston, he's been there for years, and I think he is arguably the best defensive centerman in the NHL. Best defensive forward, I think, actually, overall in the league. So Patrice Bergeron going 45th. What a steal for the Bruins. We had Matt Carle going 47th. And we had Shea Weber going 49th. We all know Shea Weber as a, you know, he can put up points. He's a huge man. He can, you know, he can hit. He can make plays. He's great in his own end. He's captained both teams he's been on. Shea Weber, what a great pick at 49. Corey Crawford went 52nd, and Corey Crawford, it's crazy to think that he was not the starting goaltender with Chicago when they won the Cup in 2010, and this is the 2003 draft, so he's a guy, I think, very comparable to Jordan Binnington, where he put in his time and his effort, and he really waited for his chance, and he's finally, you know, the starting guy in Chicago. Obviously a little older now, as like many of these guys, but he waited a long time to get his chance in the net, and he's a very decorated goaltender. David Backes went 62nd. It's so sad for David Backes. He captained St. Louis and had to watch them hoist the cup in Game 7, and he wasn't even on the ice for it. He was scratched for the Bruins in Game 7. How unfortunate for him. That must have sucked, but David Backes obviously still a great player, 62nd overall. And Jimmy Howard went 64th. One of the best statistical goalies back in like the 2010, 2011, 2009 kind of era, when it was Pittsburgh and Detroit really going at it, when they were in the Cup back-to-back years. Jimmy Howard, I remember when I first started to get into hockey, I would always go to check the stats on NHL.com, and he was always the leading goaltender for every category. So I remember Jimmy Howard as a beast of a tender. We're not sure if he's going to stay in Detroit this offseason. He could just sign somewhere else, but Jimmy Howard will definitely go down as one of the better goalies in recent memory. So now we'll just go through some of the rounds pretty quickly here. We had Daniel Carcillo going 73rd, Clark MacArthur going 74th. In the fourth round, we had Jan Hejda go 106. We had the future Hall of Famer Paul Bissonnette Biznasty going 121st. Kyle Quincy went 132. In round 5, we had Lee Stepniak going 148th. In round 6, we had Mark Mathot going 168. In round 7, San Jose get their future captain Joe Pavelski 205. In round 8, we have a couple of Jets legends, Toby Enstrom 239 and Dustin Byfuglien 245. And in round 9, we saw Matt Molson go 263rd, Jaro Halak going 271, David Jones going 288, and Brian Elliott caps it off going 291. So, aside from the first round where we had a lot of superstars and future Hall of Famers go, the second and beyond was still really good for NHL talent and guys that would make their impacts in the league for many years to come. A lot of guys on this list, I think, even on the 2nd to 7th and 9th round list, are going to be future Hall of Famers. Guys like Patrice Bergeron, Shea Weber, and we have so many really good talents on this list. It's absolutely insane what the 2003 draft provided us. And that is the video for today, guys. Like I said, the 2015 draft, I think, where it's so recent in our minds, we consider to be one of the best of all time. But the 2003 draft, before 2015 was, undisputedly the best draft of all time, and I think it still probably reigns over the 2015 one, because we haven't seen how those guys have gone on and what they've really done over the course of their career, where in the 2003 one, most of the guys have pretty much wrapped up or are at the end of their careers, the tail end at least. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was fun to make. I will be back at it with some off-season content for sure. It's a blast. It's my favorite time of the year as an NHL fan, is the off-season. I'll be doing tons of stuff with the draft, free agency, NHL awards, you name it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and have a good one. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.